What if taking a leap of faith could change the entire course of your career? Our guest today, top criminal defense attorney Corey Cohen, knows exactly how that feels. From making bold moves when others hesitated to turning early failures into building blocks for success, Corey's path is nothing short of extraordinary.
Hey, lady bosses, are you working even after putting the kids to bed but still not getting results?
Are you tired of spending money on ads that aren't getting engagement?
Do you feel burdened that you aren't fulfilling your purpose in life because you are so consumed with work?
I'm your host, Brooke Boltz. I'm an attorney and founder of Boltz Legal. I started my business and in 1 year was bringing in 7 figures and am now bringing in multi-7 figures.
And I'm your co-host, Rachel Boltz, owner of Boltz Media. I've helped many businesses build their online presence and increase their revenue through digital marketing.
Want to hear how we did it?
We are here to help you achieve your goals personally, professionally, and spiritually.
So kick off your high heels, sit back, and let's ignite that passion.
We're Miss Biz, where we're putting the miss in biz.
Let's get biz done.
So Corey, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
My first question for you is, when you're not in federal court, what can people see you wearing?
So normally the suit comes right off when I get home, and I'm putting on joggers, a workout shirt, something casual, something comfortable.
Okay. And I heard a little birdie tell me a story about you owning a Cybertruck. Can you tell us about that?
So I ordered the Cybertruck before COVID, about 3 years ago. When it finally came out, I got my Cybertruck. I was so excited. And then I realized that everywhere I'm going, people are taking pictures of me, videos of me. It was one of the few first Cybertrucks in town. And it was just really uncomfortable. I didn't like the attention, so I ended up selling it a couple weeks later.
Well, the reason I ask you those questions is to just give our listeners an idea of just how humble you really are. If you were to walk by Corey at Universal Studios or at the mall or anywhere, you would never know that he is who he is because he's just so down to earth. So, reflecting on your law school experience, did they teach you how to run a business?
No, law school doesn't teach you how to run a business at all. Law school is more theoretical. Running a business is something you just have to learn. I think some people have it and some don't also.
So how would you say that you learned how to run a business?
So in college, I worked for a criminal defense lawyer. I did everything in his office for him, and I think that really, one, helped me know that I want to do criminal defense, and two, I was able to see how he did it.
So when you eventually branched out and started your own firm, did you have a partner that worked with you?
I did initially. He did family law, and I did criminal defense.
And at what point in time did you realize that the partnership just wasn't working anymore?
I just think it was, I'm working through lunch every day, and working long hours, and he didn't feel the same way, so I just thought it was best for me to go on my own, and that's what happened.
Yeah, that can be very difficult when you have a partner and you're not seeing eye to eye or have different visions for the business. So can you share, when you eventually branched out on your own, what was the main source of your referrals and business coming in?
So at first, it was all word of mouth. I didn't have a website. I had a very, very small little ad in the Verizon phone book. But it was word of mouth. It was doing good work for people, and then they'd refer you to their friends and family.
And what would you say is a contributing factor to building those relationships? What type of activities took place?
So a lot of it was, I've always believed, don't worry about the money. Don't chase the money. Just do good work, and then the money will come. And that's really what it's about. Not nickel and diming the clients, not worrying about how much they can afford to start, just getting the case going, doing a great job, and then they'll refer a family to you.
I think that's an excellent point that you brought up, because when you look at most successful business owners, a lot of them will tell you that putting the needs of their clients above their own is one of the main factors for them being where they are today. So, transitioning from solo practice to leading a team of 6 attorneys is no small feat. What advice do you have for business owners when making that shift from being a solopreneur to a team leader?
So, good infrastructure. When I was on my own, it was me and 4 legal assistants. So having those legal assistants and that structure really helped. So once you have that structure, you can start adding people.
And what would you say are some tips or advice to managing these different personality types?
It's not easy. A lot of it is having to let go, realizing that you can't micromanage as much. That's a huge part of it. Trusting the attorneys you hire. If you don't trust them, you're going to be looking over your shoulder. You're going to be watching everything they do. Luckily for me, my attorneys all have experience. I have one that has over 30 years experience, used to be a judge. So I don't have to worry that he's doing the right thing for cases.
So how'd you score the judge?
So actually, I knew him when he was a private attorney. We actually tried a case together. I was a prosecutor, so I'd known him for quite some time. And then he became a judge. We stayed friendly. And when I was looking to hire an attorney, I put an ad on Facebook. And he was a Facebook friend, so he reached out to me.
That just goes to show how the internet has absolutely changed our lives. Yeah. Sorry. So, when you grew your firm, obviously there was a level of risk that was involved. So what kind of risks did you take when launching your business?
So, putting money out there, not knowing if people are going to hire you is scary. During COVID, so before COVID, I had 3 attorneys working for me. During COVID, most law firms, most businesses were scaling back. And we weren't getting business, by the way. Our phones weren't ringing. We were kind of just sitting there. And I actually used that opportunity to bump up my advertising. I put more money into my website. And then it paid off once COVID came to an end. Once people were able to go back into business, go back into bars, restaurants, I really started getting a lot more business then.
Go back into committing crimes.
That's the key.
Oh, that's awesome. And I think that it just goes to show that having good instincts too can have a major impact on your business.
Yeah, that's a major thing, is instinct and knowing when the right time is to put money into something or to cut back.
Do you love the Miss Biz podcast?
Because we love you.
Here's 3 things you can do to show your support.
1, write us a review. Apple, Spotify, and Google My Business are the best platforms to write a review.
2, follow us on social media. Our handle is @MissBizPodcast.
3, join our Facebook group, Miss Biz Nation, for exclusive content and behind-the-scenes footage. Also, ask questions related to your business and discuss topics from our episodes. So, Corey, you have built a strong social media presence. What inspired you to start shooting these videos?
So for me, it's about another way for clients to find us. Somebody gives our name, which, like I said, a lot of our business is word of mouth. So someone just says my name. Somebody Googles me. We have the reviews, obviously, but it's really nice to have other stuff. And it just, to me, lended credibility that we're a legitimate firm. We know what we're talking about. So I started posting these videos, really just giving legal advice regarding criminal defense cases.
And really, I mean, that's what people are looking for, especially when it comes to law firms. They're looking for quick tips and legal advice. But being in front of camera is not always natural for some people. So what advice would you give to a business owner who is kind of struggling with getting in front of the camera?
Just do it. It doesn't have to be fancy. I mean, I just do it myself. I have my ring light. I put my camera there. I video at my desk. It's not as fancy as a setup like this, but obviously just do it. I mean, it's not, it works.
I think just doing it is the key because, well, how do you feel about it? Do you feel like you got better with time?
Sure. I think angles got better, lighting got better, and just being more comfortable speaking and explaining stuff to people, sure.
So in terms of social media, you've had some viral moments. What are some of the most unexpected or amusing comments that you've received on your videos?
I guess I got one recently that said I look like Nick Cage. I have never heard that before, but I thought that was funny.
That's pretty awesome. You also have one video that has over 52,000 shares and 1,800 comments and 3,100 likes. Can you tell us a little bit about that video?
Yeah, that's one I did talking to parents about how cops can actually speak to their child without their consent. Most people don't know that. They don't realize that if a police officer shows up at your child's school, they can question your child regarding a criminal incident and arrest your child. So I really do think it just resonated with parents, and they just, they shared it because they really didn't know that, and they were trying to put that information out there for other parents.
And not only have you had success on social media, but you've also had a rapper write a song about you. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I have a client, a longtime client, who is a rapper. And so obviously we get his case dismissed. And then I'd say about 6 months later, he sends me a message and he put a song out that's called Corey Cohen.
That's awesome. And in your experience in terms of business growth, because obviously this has been quite the journey from, starting out working for a criminal defense attorney to now having rappers write songs about you. What would you think is the most underrated tactic for business owners in your experience?
So underrated, I would say, focus on what got you there. Don't forget that you did this for the clients. It's not about me as the attorney. It's about the clients. And when you forget that you're here for them, I think your work starts going downhill. I think your attitude changes. One big thing for us, too, is communication. The number one complaint for attorneys, no matter what the field is communication. Mm-hmm. And so we put in little things like every week we text message our clients, even if there's no update, just to let them know that's an update. There's nothing new going on with your case. So I think little small things that over the years I've implemented have really helped a lot as far as making our clients happy and really growing the firm.
And at the end of the day, I mean, that truly brings a lot of fulfillment when you can go and see your clients have a favorable result. A lot of times it can be worth more than any type of financial gain. Are you ready to take your business to the next level? Meet our expert team at Miss Biz.
Whether you need help with business strategy, brand development, or digital marketing, we have a personalized one-on-one coaching program just for you.
And if you're looking for something more budget-friendly, our group coaching services offer incredible value and the chance to learn alongside like-minded entrepreneurs.
Transform your business today. Visit missbiz.com and start your journey to success.
Children who clean up the messes, high heels and purses and chocolate galore. Louis Vuitton is our favorite store. So if your firm's journey could be compared to a Netflix series, what would you compare it to?
So I would compare it to Love is Blind, call it Law is Blind. And part of the reason is, you see a client who gets arrested, you see the story on the news, you read the police report, and then when you actually meet the client, you hear their side of the story, you realize that there's another side to it, that, what you heard originally may not be the truth, and the cop may only be getting one side of it. A lot of people don't realize that sometimes the police don't even speak to our client, and they may just issue a warrant or make an arrest based on one side. So it really is seeing both sides of it and bringing that to light. And that's why we do get a lot of cases dismissed with the prosecutor when we share that.
Well, they say that the truth will set you free, but sometimes it'll make you mad too. So what legal advice would you offer to our listeners today?
The easiest one is you do not have to speak to police. A lot of people think that they have to answer questions if a police officer requests it. So the Fifth Amendment, your right to remain silent, that's really important. And I can't tell you how many cases we have gotten dropped by simply telling the officer, no, you cannot speak to my client. And I can't tell you how many cases the opposite, that they probably could not have proved had the client not made a statement admitting to it or putting themselves in the place where the crime happened.
That's such a great point, because police officers are trained to get as much evidence as possible. So they will, from what I've seen, try to make people feel like they have to talk to them or they have to perform certain tasks.
Well, and something people don't realize too are cops are allowed to lie. So a cop can actually tell you, we have your DNA, we have your fingerprints at the crime scene, when they don't. Mm-hmm. But now all of a sudden you think, okay, they've got the evidence, I might as well just confess.
Those are all great tips. So what types of cases do you handle in your criminal defense practice?
We handle everything from driving while license suspended, a lot of DUIs, domestic violence battery, up to, murder cases. I personally handle the federal cases for the firm. So I have drug trafficking cases, I have cases with terrorism, a lot of different things. But anybody who gets arrested or anybody who's being investigated by a police officer, we will handle.
It definitely takes a strong personality to do what you do, and be able to make the difference. I think a lot of attorneys, not all attorneys, but a lot of attorneys kind of stray away from those high stress, intense cases because it can be so taxing.
Yeah, it's not like you see on TV. I think most people assume all attorneys go to court all the time. There's a lot of attorneys that never step foot in a courtroom. Everything is transactional. But I enjoy it. I like going to court. I like litigating. I like that whole part of it.
So, Corey, I didn't know you were a secret Love is Blind fan. Are you truly a fan?
I am.
Well, we have that in common. But speaking of Love is Blind and how you compared it to the legal process, it brought to mind, have you seen the John Benet Ramsey Netflix documentary?
Not yet.
Okay, so anyone who's seen it, you start out thinking that the parents are guilty, and it's because that's what the police believed, and that's how they were building their case, was to prove that the parents were guilty. And then halfway through, there's a new investigator who gets involved and points out some different evidence, and now all of a sudden your mind changes in the middle of the show, and you're like, no, the parents are not guilty. Somebody else committed this crime. And so it's a perfect example of what you're saying, in that the court system is only about what evidence is presented,
right,
and trying to get all of that evidence in front of the jury is a challenge sometimes.
Sure, and I've always likened it to those horses with blinders on. I think once police have a suspect, they stop looking. And they think, hey, we got our guy, we're done, case closed. I mean, I've had cases before where there's a police report that never mentions additional witnesses that were at the scene. And we only find out because we do the investigation. we shouldn't have to do that. The cops should take statements from witnesses, but sometimes it doesn't help their story, if that makes sense. And so they don't even talk to these witnesses or take statements from them.
Yes, I just think it's important for people to know that what you hear in the media, even what you read in police reports, is not always the full story. That be hesitant to judge until you do your own investigation and you hear all the evidence.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with that. I think, almost every police report we get is one-sided, and we're always able to provide a different side of the story to the prosecutor.
Is the police report itself admissible evidence?
It's not. That's called hearsay. However, the officer can testify based on his observations if the case goes to court.
And it's hearsay because the officer wasn't there at the time and didn't observe these things. So the officer is just listening to the accounts of other people and taking their own observations. And the police report itself, we put so much weight on it, but it's not even admissible evidence. It's not something that a jury will ever see or be able to take into account.
Yeah, I've done a lot of jury trials, and I think jurors are always shocked at what is admissible and what's not. And they want to hear everything, and they get frustrated when the judge keeps stuff out and they can't hear the entire story.
Agreed. So one of the things that stands out about your law firm is that you have over 1,000 Google reviews. And that is just mind-blowing to me. That is such a huge number, and I'm certain that that is something that attracts new clients to give you a call. How did you go about getting so many Google reviews? Do you have a practice or policy that you implement to try to continue to grow those reviews?
So most of the reviews are just clients that are happy. We got a great result for them. I've got in the habit recently of asking clients for reviews now because you do have cases where you have this amazing result. For example, I had a federal case that I got completely dismissed, and he was the only one that got dismissed out of all the co-defendants. But I didn't get a review. So, after that, I said, wait a second, maybe if I asked him for a review, he would. It just didn't occur. And so I'm in the habit now of asking for a review, and I'll just say, hey, please leave a 5-star review if you were happy.
You know what's even more impressive about the number of reviews you have is that your clients are people who were accused of crimes. And so by leaving a review, they're essentially acknowledging to the world, I was accused of a crime and I had to hire a criminal defense attorney. So it seems like they would be more hesitant to write a review for you than virtually any other business. So I think it just speaks volumes to the care and quality of work that you provide, that they would set aside their pride or humiliation in some respects of having even had this accusation to go and write a review for you.
Yeah.
So the next thing I want to ask you about is, as a law firm owner myself, when I had contemplated starting my own business years ago, the books that I had read all said that you had to have a 6-figure savings account before starting your business. And that's because they anticipated about a year you wouldn't be making enough revenue to support yourself. So you needed to have that savings to be able to pay your own bills while you're building your practice. What do you think about that statement?
So luckily I didn't read any books before I went out. But no, I didn't have much savings. I didn't take out a loan. We kept it very small. My partner and I shared one office, sat at the same desk. We didn't have any staff initially. So I think just keep your overhead as low as possible. And I probably took me a good 3-4 months before I wrote myself a paycheck, but I just survived.
Did you say you shared a desk?
We shared a desk. We sat on opposite sides.
Do you have any pictures of sharing a desk? That is hilarious. And so what do you do when you had a phone call? You guys just
just one person stays quiet.
Be quiet. I've got an important phone call. That's so funny. But I love that story because it shows where you came from and where you are today. And I think that probably attributes to the humility that you still have. 19 years into business with 1,000 Google reviews. Just remembering where you came from, I think is important. So starting out as a solopreneur with a partner who did a different practice area, but basically running your own practice, and then separating from that partner, going out on your own. And how long was it before you started bringing in other employees?
It took a while. I started with staff. I started with, like I said earlier, the infrastructure. So having a receptionist, then having a secretary, little small things. I started realizing if I'm in court and somebody calls and I don't have somebody answering the phone, I'm going to lose that client. So that was the most important thing, was to have somebody there. But it took me probably a good 6 months before I hired somebody. And then it just seemed like after I hired that first employee, I had more and more and more.
How long was it before you brought in other attorneys to work in your firm?
Probably about 15 years. For a long time, it was just me and 4 assistants. And then I hired an attorney because I was sending cases away. I can only do so much because, remember, criminal court, you have to go to court in person. This is way before Zoom, way before virtual court. You had to drive to court, even if it was a 5-minute hearing. So I was doing Orange and Seminole County mostly, but I was turning away Osceola County. I was turning away Polk County, all the other counties. So I decided, look, instead of sending those cases away, if I bring somebody in, I can take more cases.
And the other thing about criminal court is you don't have control over when these hearings are set, do you?
Not at all. The judge tells you be here, and you have to be there. Whether you have 20 cases that day or 2 cases that day, you need to find a way to manage it.
Yeah, that is something that kept me from criminal court, because my schedule is different every day, all the time, and we have the convenience in civil court of being able to schedule our hearings for the times that we're available. And if I'm not available, we just say we're not available and find another date. And criminal court, you don't have that luxury. The judge sets the hearings and you got to be there.
I mean, even if a client gets arrested and it's a weekend, it's a holiday, the courts still have first appearance. And so they may call you and say, I need you there. Mm-hmm. So we've had times where we go to court on the weekends, and you don't want to, but you have to.
And holidays.
Holidays, sure.
Have you been able to do any of those court appearances via Zoom since COVID?
Not on the weekends. But since COVID, a lot of the smaller court dates, like pre-trials, maybe some traffic hearings, have been on Zoom or Link or some other thing. So one of the things you mentioned is that you text your clients every week. Did I hear that right? That's right.
And that stood out to me so much, because I know that one of the greatest complaints of law firms is that the client can't reach the attorney and they don't know what's going on with their case. So, but texting every week seems like a lot. So how did you come up with that practice, and how do you oversee it to make sure that it's implemented? So,
it's called growing pains. I mean, you open this firm and you suddenly have all the staff, these attorneys, and you start seeing, well, wait a second, clients are calling all the time asking for updates, and it's filling up our phone lines. So I figured, hey, every week let's go through our cases and text the client an update. And that way, the client knows what's going on. There's not as many phone calls, and they're happy. I mean, they really like the fact that they're never just in the dark about what's happening with their case.
And are your assistants texting them from their cell phones, or do you have some type of system?
Yeah, no, they don't text from their cell phones. We have a case management software that you can just go on there and send text messages to the clients.
So the reason I thought this was important to share with our audience is because what you did was identify a pain point that your clients had, which is they wanted to know what was going on all the time. It was also a pain point for your firm, because when they call, they're not just saying what's going on. It turns into a 20-minute phone call. So you identified that area that was in need of improvement. You came up with a solution, and then you came up with the right software to implement it seamlessly and in a way that was the least invasive or the most efficient on your staff to be able to keep up with it and do it consistently. And I think that we can apply that process to any of our businesses. I think we should continuously be doing that, looking at, okay, where's the place that is a pain point? Where's the place that I can improve upon the customer experience?
And you hit it right on the head. When they call for an update as far as what happened in court or, what's going on with their case, then there's additional questions. Where if you text message, this is what I explain to my staff, you text message them, it may be a 15, 20-second text message versus a 20-minute phone call.
Absolutely. How can people find you on social media?
So the easiest way is to Google me. You'll be able to find a lot of stuff on there, but my Instagram is Corey Cohen ESQ, and you can find me on Facebook under the law office of Corey Cohen and Associates. But honestly, if you Google Corey Cohen, a criminal defense attorney, or you Google anything that's related to that, you'll typically show up.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for being here and sharing your experience both legally and professionally and in the business sense of growing your firm. You have really done a lot of impressive things that I think our listeners can find very valuable in their own entrepreneurial journey. But we have a surprise for you, and so we're going to set that up.
As I walk through the intro for our very next guest in terms of criminal defense, someone say he's the very best. I ain't never met a lawyer in a teaching this cult. Learn a little bit more from all his LinkedIn. So he got his law degree from Mary, then he reached new heights. Got his master's from St. Thomas intercultural human rights. Try to stick around as we enter the show. We'll learn how Cohen and Associates continue to grow. If you've been charged and you need defense, it's probably best to call Corey Cohen. If judgment's pending and you need to win, probably best to call Corey Cohen. If you've been charged and you need defense, it's probably best to call Corey Cohen. If judgment's pending and you need to win, probably best to call Corey Cohen. Yeah.
That's great.
It's no rap
No, that was
from a
really
client.
Nice. That was really nice. I appreciate that. I've been smiling the whole time. It's great.
We appreciate you and are honored to be on this journey with you. We can't wait to help you, to encourage you, and show you how to grow personally, professionally, and spiritually.
If you found Miss Biz helpful, please leave a review and share with others.
You can follow us on social media at Miss Biz Podcast.
For legal questions or services, please visit boltslegal.com.
And for digital marketing needs, please visit boltsmedia.com. Let's get biz done.